I should have known something was wrong the moment my mother told me to wear something nice. My family never cared what I wore. Most of the time, they barely cared about me at all. Still, I tried. I stood in front of the mirror inside my small apartment and smoothed my dark blue dress over my curves. It wasn't expensive. It wasn't fashionable, but it was clean, and it was the best thing I owned. I looked at myself for a long moment. 30 years old. Too soft. Too quiet. Too easy to ignore. At least that was what people always seemed to think. My phone buzzed. A message from Adrian. Don't be late. That was all. No heart. No Ismail. No, I love you. Just 3 cold words. A strange feeling settled in my stomach. 4 or 5 years, Adrian Cross had been my entire world. When he was struggling to build his company, I worked extra shifts. When he couldn't pay rent, I paid it. When he wanted investors, I spent nights helping him prepare presentations. I believed we were building a future together. I believed one day he would propose. I believed a lot of things. I arrived at my parents' house 20 minutes later. The place was glowing with lights. Luxury cars filled the driveway. My confusion grew. Why were there so many guests? Music drifted through the open doors. Laughter echoed from inside. I stepped into the house. The living room was packed. Champagne glasses sparkled. People smiled and chatted. No one told me what was happening. Then I saw my younger sister, Vanessa. She stood in the center of the room wearing a white designer dress. Beautiful. Perfect. Admired. Just like always. Everyone loved Vanessa. She had inherited our mother's beauty. I had inherited my father's broad frame. Growing up, relatives never let me forget it. Vanessa is gorgeous. Vanessa is elegant. Vanessa will marry rich. And then they would look at me. Sometimes they didn't even bother hiding their disappointment. I pushed those memories away. Something still felt wrong. Then Adrian appeared beside Vanessa. My heartbeat stopped. He was wearing a black suit. His arm rested around her waist. For a second, my brain refused to understand what I was seeing. Vanessa smiled. Adrian smiled. The room suddenly felt too hot. What's going on? I asked quietly. Neither of them answered immediately. Instead, they exchanged a glance that made my stomach drop. Then Adrian looked directly at me. A slow smirk appeared on his face. The same smirk I had once thought was charming. Now it looked cruel. Very cruel. I'm marrying your sister. The words hit me like a punch. The room disappeared. The music disappeared. Everything disappeared. Except those 4 words. I'm marrying your sister. I stared at him, waiting for someone to laugh. Waiting for someone to tell me it was a joke. Nobody did. Vanessa lifted her left hand. A diamond ring sparkled under the lights. The guests began applauding. Applauding. As if my heart wasn't being ripped apart right in front of them. Surprise, Vanessa said sweetly. I looked at her. You knew. Her smile never moved. Of course. My chest tightened. How long? Neither answered. That silence told me everything. Weeks. Months. Maybe longer. All those nights Adrian claimed he was busy. All those canceled dates. All those unanswered calls. He wasn't working. He was with her. A lump formed in my throat. You cheated on me. Adrian rolled his eyes. The gesture hurt more than it should have. Don't make a scene, Evelyn. A scene? He had just destroyed 5 years of my life. And I was the problem? The guests watched like they were enjoying a movie. Nobody looked uncomfortable. Nobody defended me. Not even my family. My mother stepped forward. I actually thought she might support me. Instead, she sighed dramatically. Evelyn, be mature. You still have the hair. Mature. Vanessa and Adrian are happy. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own mother was defending them. Tears burned behind my eyes. Mom. She shook her head. If we're being honest, Adrian and Vanessa make more sense together. The room became silent. Every person was listening. Every person was watching me break. Then my mother delivered the final blow. Maybe if you took better care of yourself, things would have turned out differently. The words sliced through me. My weight. Again. Always my weight. Every insecurity I had ever carried suddenly crashed into me. I felt exposed. Small. Worthless. Adrian didn't defend me. Vanessa didn't defend me. Nobody did. Adrian simply wrapped his arm tighter around Vanessa, as if he had won something, as if I had never mattered. That hurt the most. Not losing him. Realizing I had never truly had him at all. My eyes filled with tears. I refused to cry in front of them. I refused. Without saying another word, I turned and walked away. Behind me, the celebration continued. The music returned. The laughter returned. My humiliation was already forgotten. Outside, rain poured from the sky. Cold water soaked my hair within seconds. I didn't care. I kept walking. The streets of Seoul blurred through my tears. Cars passed. People hurried by. Nobody noticed the woman falling apart. Maybe that was for the best. I didn't know where I was going. I just needed to get away. Away from my family. Away from Adrian. Away from the memories. An hour passed. Maybe more. My feet hurt. My makeup was ruined. Rainwater dripped from my clothes. Then I noticed a building at the end of a quiet street. Warm golden light spilled from dark windows. Soft jazz music floated into the night. Without thinking, I stepped inside. The warmth hit me immediately. I blinked. The place was beautiful. Dark wood, golden lights, expensive furniture, a stage where a pianist played slow music. The atmosphere felt calm, safe. For the first time that night, I could breathe. I found an empty table near the back and sat down. Nobody bothered me. Nobody asked questions. I stared at the table. Eventually, the tears came. I tried to stop them. I really did. But after everything that had happened, I couldn't hold them back anymore. I cried quietly. For 5 years wasted. For the betrayal. For the family that had never truly loved me. For every cruel comment I had ever heard. Minutes passed. Then I noticed something strange. The music had stopped. The room had become silent. Completely silent. I looked up. Every employee seemed nervous. Every customer seemed alert. Even the pianist had frozen. A man had entered the club. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit. His face was calm, cold, powerful, the kind of man who didn't need to raise his voice because everyone obeyed him anyway. Several men followed behind him. Bodyguards, dangerous-looking men. The stranger walked through the room slowly. Nobody got in his way. Not a single person. I quickly looked down. People like him belonged in a different world. A world far above mine. A few seconds later, a chair moved. Someone had sat across from me. I looked up. My breath caught. It was him, the powerful stranger. Up close, he looked even more intimidating. Sharp eyes, strong jaw, absolute control. Yet he wasn't looking at me with disgust. He wasn't looking at my body. He wasn't judging me. He was simply watching me, studying me, as if trying to understand something. The silence stretched. Then his deep voice broke it. Low, calm, dangerously controlled. Who made you cry? I froze. Around us, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. And for the first time, I realized every armed man in the club was watching our table. Waiting, listening. And suddenly I understood one terrifying truth. The stranger sitting across from me was not just a wealthy businessman. He was someone far more dangerous. And somehow, he was interested in my answer. I didn't know why I answered him. Maybe it was because nobody had asked me that question before. Nobody had cared enough to ask. For a few seconds, I just stared at the man sitting across from me. His dark eyes never left mine. The entire club remained silent. It felt like everyone was waiting for my answer. My throat tightened. My ex. His expression didn't change. My sister too. Still nothing. No sok. No pity. No fake sympathy. Just quiet attention. I looked down at my hands. They got engaged tonight. The words hurt all over again. I swallowed hard. He left me for her. The silence stretched. Then the man leaned back slightly. His face remained calm, but something dangerous flashed through his eyes. Something cold. Something that made even me nervous. What is his name? The question sounded simple, yet somehow it felt important. I hesitated. Then I answered. Adrian Cross. For the first time, the man beside him moved. One of his bodyguards stepped closer. The stranger lifted a finger. The bodyguard immediately stopped. One tiny movement. One silent command. Complete obedience. I had never seen power like that before. The stranger looked back at me. And your name? Evelyn. His gaze softened slightly. Only slightly. Evelyn. The way he said my name sounded different. Careful. Respectful. As if it mattered. I wasn't used to that. I am Kang Min-ye. The name meant nothing to me. At least at first. Then I noticed the reaction around us. Several employees suddenly looked away. Others straightened immediately. Fear filled the room. Real fear. I realized this man was important. Very important. Min Jae glanced toward the bartender. Bring her tea. The order came quietly. The tea arrived less than 30 seconds later. Nobody wasted time obeying him. I wrapped my hands around the warm cup. For the first time that night, I felt a little better. A little safer. Thank you, I whispered. He nodded once. Then he stood. For a moment, I thought he was leaving. Instead, he removed his suit jacket. Before I could react, he placed it over my shoulders. The expensive fabric felt warm. I stared at him in surprise. You'll get sick. That was all he said. No flirting. No hidden meaning. Just concern. Something inside my chest hurt. Because Adrian had never noticed things like that. Not anymore. A few minutes later, Min Jae left. His bodyguards followed. The club slowly returned to normal. But before he reached the exit, he paused. Without turning around, he spoke. Go home safely, Evelyn. Then he disappeared. I sat there frozen, wondering why a stranger had treated me better in 20 minutes than my own family had treated me in years. The next morning, I woke up convinced it had all been a strange dream. Then I noticed the expensive black jacket hanging over a chair. Not a dream. At work, I tried focusing on my tasks. It didn't help. My phone kept buzzing. Social media was full of engagement photos. Vanessa smiling. Adrian smiling. My family smiling. Every picture felt like another knife. I eventually turned my phone off. Around lunchtime, my office manager appeared beside my desk. Evelyn, someone is here to see you. I frowned. Me? She nodded. I followed her outside. A luxury black car waited by the curb. The vehicle probably cost more than my apartment. A man in a suit stood beside it. I immediately recognized him. One of Min Jae's bodyguards. He bowed slightly. Miss Evelyn. I blinked. Yes. He held out a large box. This is for you. Confused, I accepted it. What is it? Our boss asked us to return something. Return something? I opened the. Inside was Min Jae's jacket. Cleaned. Pressed. Perfect. I laughed softly. I was going to return it myself. The bodyguard nodded. Chairman Kong said you shouldn't worry about that. Chairman? The title caught my attention. Before I could ask more questions, the bodyguard handed me a card. Then he left. Just like that. No explanation. No conversation. The black card disappeared into traffic. I looked at the card. A phone number. Nothing else. No title. No company name. Just a number. For some reason, I slipped into my purse. Days passed. Then weeks. Life continued. At least on the surface. Inside, I was still trying to heal. Meanwhile, engagement photos kept appearing online. Adrian and Vanessa seemed determined to show the world how happy they were. I tried ignoring them. Some days I succeeded. Other days I cried. One evening my phone rang. Unknown number. Normally I wouldn't answer. This time I did. Hello. Evelyn. My heart skipped. I recognized the voice immediately. Min Jae. Deep. Calm. Controlled. How did you get my number? A faint amusement entered his voice. It wasn't difficult. For some reason I smiled. The conversation lasted only 10 minutes. Then 20. Then 40. By the time we hung up, I realized something surprising. I had laughed. Actually laughed. For the first time in weeks. After that, the calls became regular. Nothing romantic. Nothing inappropriate. We simply talked. About books. Movies. Food. Life. Sometimes he listened more than he spoke. Sometimes I forgot he was one of the most intimidating men I had ever met. Then reality returned one afternoon. I was having coffee with a coworker when she suddenly gasped. Evelyn. What? She shoved her phone toward me. My eyes widened. The article showed Kong Min Jae standing beside government officials. Behind him were company logos worth billions. Hotels. Shipping companies. Construction firms. Technology companies. Investment groups. I read the article twice. Then 3 times. My jaw nearly dropped. The man from the jazz club wasn't simply rich. He was unbelievably powerful. One of the most influential businessmen in South Korea. And according to rumors online, something even more dangerous. People whispered about private security companies, underground networks, powerful connections. No one said much directly, but the message was clear. Kong Min-jae was not a man people crossed. That night, I almost didn't answer his call. Almost. You discovered Google, he said. I laughed despite myself. You never told me. You never asked. Fair point. Still, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Why are you talking to me? The question slipped out. Silence followed. For a moment, I thought he might end the call. Instead, his voice became softer. Because I enjoy it. My heart unexpectedly fluttered. I quickly changed the subject. The weeks continued. Slowly, things improved. I started smiling again. I started sleeping again. I started believing my life wasn't over. Then one morning, an elegant envelope arrived at my apartment. I already knew what it was before opening it. Vanessa and Adrian's engagement gala. The official celebration. The biggest event yet. I stared at the invitation for a long time. Then I threw it into the trash. 5 minutes later, I took it back out. Then threw it away again. Then picked it up again. I hated myself for caring. That evening, Min-jae called. I told him about the invitation. I'm not going. Why? I laughed bitterly. Because I'd rather walk through fire. A brief silence followed. Then he said 2 words. You're attending. I nearly choked. What? Attends. No. Yes. His calm confidence irritated me. I don't want to be humiliated again. His voice lowered. Not angry. Certain. You won't be. Something about those words made me pause. For the next few days, mysterious things began happening. A stylist appeared at my apartment. Then a designer. Then a makeup artist. I tried refusing. Nobody listened. Apparently, Min-jae had arranged everything. The dress arrived last. When I saw it, I couldn't speak. Deep emerald velvet. Elegant. Beautiful. The kind of dress I had only seen in magazines. No, the stylist smiled. Yes. An hour later, I stood before the mirror. I barely recognized myself. The dress hugged my curves perfectly, not hiding them, celebrating them. My hair fell in soft waves. My makeup highlighted my features. For years, I had tried making myself invisible. The woman in the mirror looked impossible to ignore. A knock sounded at the door. I opened it. My breath caught. Min-jae stood there. Black suit. Powerful presence. Sharp dark eyes. For a second, neither of us spoke. His gaze slowly moved over me. Not in a disrespectful way. Not like Adrian used to. Instead, there was something almost reverent in his eyes. As if he was looking at something precious. Something worth protecting. A strange warmth spread through my chest. You look beautiful. The words were simple, but they felt honest. More honest than any compliment I had received in years. My cheeks warmed. Thank you. He offered his hand. I took it. Together we left for the gala. The ballroom was already crowded when we arrived. Music played. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead. We stepped through the entrance. The room instantly fell silent. Conversation stopped. Heads turned. People stared. At first, I thought they were looking at Min-jae. Then I realized they were looking at both of us. Across the ballroom, Vanessa froze. Her smile vanished. My mother nearly dropped her champagne glass. And Adrian turned toward us. The moment he recognized the man standing beside me, all color drained from his face. For the first time since betraying me, Adrian Cross looked terrified. The silence inside the ballroom lasted only a few seconds, but it felt much longer. Everyone was staring. Not at Vanessa. Not at Adrian. At me. For years, I had been invisible. Now hundreds of eyes followed my every movement. My hands trembled slightly. Min-jae noticed immediately. Without looking at me, he quietly offered his arm. A simple gesture. A silent promise. You are not alone. I took his arm. Together we walked farther into the ballroom. Nobody dared block our path. Nobody dared whisper loud enough to be heard. Across the room, Adrian looked like he had seen a ghost. Vanessa wasn't doing much better. Her smile looked forced. Painfully forced. I would have enjoyed it more if I wasn't so nervous. Relax, Min-jae said quietly. I'm trying. You're doing well. His calm voice somehow helped. For the next hour, people approached our table. Business leaders, politicians, celebrities. Every single person greeted Min-jae respectfully. Some looked almost afraid of him. Others seemed eager to earn his approval. I watched everything with fascination. This was a world completely different from mine. a world of power and influence. Yet despite all the attention, Min Jae never ignored me. Whenever someone joined our conversation, he included me. Whenever food arrived, he made sure I ate. Whenever I looked uncomfortable, he changed the topic. The little things mattered. They mattered more than expensive gifts ever could. Eventually, I noticed Adrian walking toward us. His face was pale. His confidence was gone. For the first time since I met him, he looked unsure. Very unsure. He stopped in front of our table. His eyes moved to Min Jae. Chairman Kong. The respect in his voice shocked me. This was the same man who had publicly humiliated me. Now he sounded nervous. Min Jae slowly looked up. His expression remained unreadable. Mr. Cross. Adrian swallowed. I didn't realize you and Evelyn knew each other. Min Jae's gaze became colder. We do. Just 2 words. Nothing more. Yet Adrian immediately looked uncomfortable. The conversation ended there. Min Jae returned to his drink, completely dismissing him. Adrian stood awkwardly for several seconds before walking away. I almost laughed. Almost. Later that night, when the gala finally ended, I felt exhausted. As we left the ballroom, I glanced back once. Vanessa was staring at me. Her eyes burned with jealousy. For the first time in her life, she wasn't the center of attention. For the first time, she didn't like it. The next morning, everything changed. At least for Adrian. I didn't know it yet. But somewhere across the city, problems had already begun. One investor canceled a contract. Then another. Then another. Millions of dollars disappeared overnight. Adrian thought it was bad luck. He was wrong. A week later, one of his biggest projects collapsed. The company funding it suddenly withdrew. No warning. No explanation. Just gone. Then the bank delayed a major loan. Then another. His stress began growing. Meanwhile, my life continued improving. I spent more time with Min Jae. Not because he asked. Because I wanted to. Sometimes we had dinner together. Sometimes we walked through quiet parts of the city. Sometimes we simply talked. One night, we sat on the rooftop of one of his hotels. The city lights stretched endlessly below. A cool breeze moved through the air. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Then Min Jae suddenly asked a question. Why do you always apologize? I blinked. What? You apologize for everything. I thought about it. He was right. I did. Sorry for bothering people. Sorry for speaking. Sorry for existing. Years of criticism had taught me that. I looked away. I guess I'm used to disappointing people. The words came out softer than intended. Min Jae became very quiet. When I looked back at him, something dark had entered his eyes. Not directed at me, at whoever had made me believe that. You disappoint nobody. The certainty in his voice surprised me. For some reason, my chest felt warm. I quickly looked away. Over the following weeks, Adrian's situation became worse. Much worse. Several government agencies suddenly became interested in his company. Audits began. Investigations followed. Reporters started asking uncomfortable questions. Employees grew nervous. Investors grew nervous. Everyone grew nervous. At first, Vanessa remained supportive, at least publicly. Privately, she was panicking. Every day brought new problems. Every day brought new losses. One evening, I received a message from my mother. It was the first message she had sent in months. Evelyn, can we talk? I stared at the screen. No apology. No explanation. Just those 4 words. I ignored it. An hour later, another message arrived. This is about your sister. I ignored that one too. For years, they had chosen Vanessa over me. Now, they could deal with the consequences. Meanwhile, rumors about Adrian's business continued spreading. People whispered everywhere. Restaurants, offices, social media. Nobody knew exactly what was happening, only that something was very wrong. One afternoon, I visited Min Jae's headquarters. The building occupied nearly an entire city block. Security was everywhere. Employees bowed when he passed. The respect he commanded was unbelievable. As I waited in his office, several men entered the room. Large men, dangerous-looking men. The moment they saw me, they immediately bowed. Good afternoon, madam. I froze. Madam? The men left before I could respond. A few minutes later, Min Jae entered. I pointed toward the door. They called me madam. His face remained perfectly serious. They did. Why? A tiny smile appeared. They respect you. I wasn't sure that was the whole answer. But before I could ask more questions, his phone rang. The smile disappeared immediately. His expression became cold. Very cold. He answered, listened, then spoke. Continue. Silence.